Hello, and welcome to all the truth seekers that have joined us today. I'm glad that you've decided to join this online community and hope you're ready to inhale some provocative insights that will inspire and change the way you do business. My name is Mark McKelsey, and I lead the people and the projects that bring you insights, shopper trends, and next practices from Global Market Development Center and Retail Tomorrow. For the next hour, this Infocast will make your lunch hour profitable by demonstrating just how the curiosity and the power of the consumer must be at the center of your strategy. In other words, the way you've done things in the past is not the way your future success will happen. Retailers and brands more than ever must be adaptive and in constant flux in order to connect with evolving populations. So, how you respond to this session is important. Without further ado, let's jump into it. I'm coming to you live from Colorado Springs and have Carrie Schaefer from Linkage Research joining us from Columbus, Ohio. Today's Infocast is about how the growing demand for natural and sustainable beauty products continues to grow exponentially. No doubt that coronavirus has affected all consumer spending, but especially the beauty industry. The precautions that consumers are taking to prevent illness are manifesting themselves in many ways. And to put this into perspective from the lens of the personal care industry, it's more than just about soap and sanitizer in a post-COVID world. While the personal care industry contributes $235 billion to the US GDP and employs 3.6 million people, the cosmetics and fragrance sectors are faring okay under the circumstances of the pandemic, even though the first quarter was tough. Amidst the recalibration of the retail landscape, the do-it-yourself hype is real, and many companies in the beauty space are needing to rethink their strategies. At the same time, opportunities abound both online and brick and mortar to ensure that consumers have all the brands, both in luxury and value, at their disposal. According to WWD, since digital has been a growth engine for online cosmetic sales in the past years, with stores closing, that trend has still accelerated rapidly, but consumers are still enjoying going to the store despite some of their hesitancy of germs. That said, the traffic seen pre-COVID will still not be the same as post-COVID. And that's what the industry needs to figure out and act upon quickly. During the new normal that all companies are trying to predict, not only are shopping habits changing, but what we saw taking place over the past few years, namely a parallel alternative beauty industry, has exploded alongside the traditional one. Natural beauty and clean beauty are here to stay. Many new brands and retailers are basically saying to consumers, your regular beauty products contain all sorts of dangerous stuff. Use these safer ones instead. Well, what Carrie will tell us more today, it's a complicated claim and pretty hard to prove conclusively, but it's a message that has caused radical upheaval in the cosmetics industry. Not only that, but during the pandemic, consumers are seeing that their health on the inside of their body also translates to the outside. At GMDC and Linkage, we believe that we are ushering in a new era of beauty, and what it means is a new undiscovered shopper journey on the horizon. Here to tell us more, Carrie, welcome. Would you let our viewers know what they can expect to learn today?
Hi, Mark. Thanks for inviting me to talk today. There are 4 key takeaways that I'm going to walk us through today, and they can take away from this Infocast. The first one is that, as you mentioned, Better4You Beauty is a growing segment, and the consumers who are shopping this category are young and they're loyal. So the time to know these consumers and think about capturing them is now. Second point is that these Better4You Beauty consumers are researching. They're researching the ingredients that they don't want in their products. And so they are learning in and out of the store. So you as a brand manufacturer or as a retailer have a lot of opportunities to interact with this consumer and capture her. The third is that there is no one retailer per the consumer that's got this right. And I'm going to talk through what opportunities each of the channels have to capture her. And then finally, if you're thinking about trends, the hot areas to be watching and considering within Better4You Beauty are sustainable, plant-based, and contains CBD. So I'll talk through all 4 of those areas today.
Thanks, Carrie. I couldn't agree more, and I'm really looking forward to this Infocast. So Back to our audience, before we get started and dive in, I'd like to remind you that we can take questions during or after the session by using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please do not use the chat feature. The Q&A is where we'll take those questions and we'll get to those at the end of the hour. So let's get started. Back over to you, Carrie.
As Mark mentioned, I'm joining you from Linkage Research and Consulting, where we track consumer needs, attitudes, and behaviors around trends in free from, natural, and better for you products. And one exciting area we've been following is what we call better for you beauty. Personally, I find this category to be one that is following a similar path to that of the food industry. Like food, with beauty, there was initially a niche group of consumers and brands that really understood and cared about the ingredients that were in their beauty products. But over time, like food, consumers have become more educated and more familiar with the potentially harmful chemicals that are in their beauty products. So ingredients like sulfates, phthalates, and parabens have been widely used in beauty products are now names that consumers are concerned about including in their beauty regimen. And while many of these ingredients used in beauty products are banned in other countries, in the US, the FDA has not yet regulated the ingredients in the beauty industry. So this change in demand for clean is being driven by consumers. And that's why we're here today, to discuss what changes consumers are demanding and how both manufacturers and retailers can deliver on those needs. I'm going to share today what better for you trends in beauty are most popular with consumers, and also some recommended activations you can walk away and take to help these consumers find your brand in your store. Before we dive in, I just wanted to let you know that all the insights I'm going to talk about today are based on a nationally representative sample survey of 1,000 beauty consumers that was fielded in Q4 2019. So pre-COVID, but pretty recent data. And so with that, let's go ahead and dive in and discuss what consumers want. To get us started, I think it's most important to begin looking at what macro trends are fueling overall consumer behavior. And when it comes to beauty, there are 3 trends that are impacting how these consumers shop for beauty products. The first of these macro trends is wellness. And whether or not these consumers just want to make it long enough to wear Google glasses or live better, Americans are taking proactive steps to live healthier and longer lives. Actually, 70% of Americans report they are proactively using diet and exercise to live better. The second macro trend is this idea that nature knows best. As Mark mentioned, I live in Columbus, Ohio, and if anyone remembers the Lester chips, we were a test market for it. And thank goodness those days are gone. Consumers today generally believe that we should be doing things as nature intended. We should be eating what nature intended, and that is now starting to trend to the beauty industry. We should be using products on our bodies that are natural. And finally, the third macro trend that's influencing the beauty industry is transparency. And again, gone are days of blind trust. We all know that millennials have certainly changed this for good with their skepticism and their need to know what's in the products that they're using. And so for these 3 macro, because of these 3 macro trends, what we have seen in our data is that 30% of beauty consumers report that they have increased their natural skin purchases in the last year. That's not just that they've actually made a purchase, they've actually increased their natural purchases. And so we'll talk through what that looks like. And in terms of sales, Nielsen reports that natural beauty sales are growing at nearly 10%, double-digit growth. And so what we see in our data is that consumers have widely adopted better for you beauty products. With these beliefs in place, better for you beauty is not niche. That is definitely something you should take away today. And in fact, it's being pretty widely adopted. And so what you see here is the percentage of consumers who report that they've purchased a product with a better for you beauty claim in the last year. And we see that 61% of skincare users have purchased one, 60% of hair care, and 50% of cosmetics shoppers So over half of all these category shoppers have bought a product with a Better For You Beauty claim. And we've defined Better For You Beauty as product claims that contain natural, organic, free of chemicals, sustainable, plant-based, or vegan. And so what we see here is that, skincare is certainly the most developed, while cosmetics is the least. And as we talk to consumers through our research, we learn that they're willing to make the trade-off. They're less willing to make the trade-off for natural and efficacy in cosmetics because of color matching and because of color matching with cosmetics. So we do expect to see cosmetics grow as well as manufacturers can deliver more efficacy with natural ingredients. And so the consumer, who's this consumer that's reporting that they are buying skincare, hair care, and cosmetics that's better for you? Well, she's more likely to be female. She's definitely younger. 60% of these consumers are Gen Z or millennials. She spans all incomes, and she's more likely to prioritize better for you or natural in her food selection as well. And so, as I mentioned at the start, this is a valuable consumer. She's committed to this category in natural, both in food and beauty. And 85% of these beauty consumers are willing to pay a premium for a beauty product with a natural claim. And 50% will walk out the door if they can't find what they want. So I think it's important here, these consumers represent a strong lifetime value. And it's important that if you want to play in this space, that you begin to understand her and serve her now. So as we did our research, we actually talked to these consumers. We sent them on shop-alongs. And so I wanted to share with you some of the quotes that they said to us, because I think this really kind of helps to bring home how they're thinking about this category. And this is a great one. This is a Gen Z shopper that we talked to, and she said, "I don't like heavy, harsh brands sitting on my face overnight. I want them soaking into my skin. That's why natural is important to me. It's skin deep." And so as Mark talked about at the start, these consumers care about their health. And with COVID, I can imagine it's even more important now. And they truly believe, 85% of them believe, that what they put on their skin can impact their health. And so that's why it's so important to them that they're picking natural in their beauty routine, and particularly their skin regimen routine. This talks a little bit about the consumer's path to purchase with Better For You Beauty products. And as we talked to her and surveyed her, kind of here's what we learned, is that she does a lot of research to find out which products are most natural and effective. Because being natural is not enough, they have to be effective as well. And so her path to purchase into this Better For You Beauty category typically starts with an event. She might have had a skin problem, like noticing a rash from her products, or perhaps she had her first pregnancy and really starts questioning what she's putting in and on her body. Or maybe she had a conversation with a friend or even a mom and starts questioning her choices. Whatever the event, it causes her to read more information, and her process becomes more research intense about what she's using on her body, on her skin, on her hair, and on her face. And so her mindset in the path to purchase is that she's really always on the lookout for more natural and effective products. About 7 in 10 Better For You Beauty consumers say this. And that doesn't mean that she's not loyal and that she's always chasing the hottest trends. Because if she finds something that works, she'll stick with it. But given that this industry is evolving and changing and growing, she wants to make sure she has what's the latest and most effective product out there. Her behavior, I talked about this at the beginning. She is very likely to research, and very likely to research before she ever steps foot in the store. 50% of consumers say they're looking to figure out what they're going to buy in terms of Better For You Beauty online. And 20% are actually pulling out their phone in the store to look and see what's in this product. Is it safe? Is it efficacious? And influencers, really, she's influenced by reviews and ingredient information. And again, that goes back to the two things she's looking for. Is this clean and safe for me? And isn't it effective? So the ingredient info helps her understand if it's clean and safe. The reviews help her to understand if it's effective. And then finally, in terms of where she's finding this information and influencers, her sources are Google, online reviews like Amazon, or maybe Sephora's website, and word of mouth. She's talking a lot to her friends and family about what works and what doesn't. So this is a research intense process, shopping process. And it's important if you're trying to appeal to this consumer, you're thinking about how do you get in front of her, because she's always looking for information. What information could you share with her? That you're providing her information both in and out of the store, that your marketing plan includes that, and that you're sharing ingredient information in the right places, especially online before she ever steps foot inside. I love this quote from a Gen X shopper that we talked to, and it really drives home how research intense this shopper can be. She said, I'll try to look up the best whatever it is, meaning product, and use that as a starting point. I'll do one or two of these types of searches and use that list instead of spending hours trying to figure out what's the best product for me. So this really speaks to the opportunity that lives out there, is to help to guide this consumer and shopper into what products are both natural and efficacious and will work for her in your channel. So what matters to this shopper in her path to purchase for products? Well, of course, is that these better products are natural and they're clean. And we'll talk about the right side of this slide in a minute. But this consumer is just like any other consumer that you sell your brand to or that shops in your store. And before she even gets to natural, she wants products that are shoppable, right? She wants good value, right? That combination of price and quality from brands she trusts and that are available where she shops. And this is not surprising to me, because BetterforYou Beauty is widely reaching and consumers are looking for shoppable products and they want it convenient. After being shoppable, she prioritizes attributes like all natural, free from testing, and chemicals first. So nearly 50% of BetterforYou Beauty consumers say that those are the most important attributes of the products, BetterforYou products for them. And then there's a second tier of attributes that include organic, sustainable, plant-based, and vegan. And as you can see here on the right side of the chart, these certainly aren't as wide-reaching as all natural and free from chemicals, but they are growing areas to watch that I'll highlight some data for you in a minute about. And so again, another great quote from a Gen X shopper that we talked to. She was looking at some products. We were talking to her in video, and she was looking at some products that she purchased in the back of the panel. And she said, right off the bat, the two ingredients are silicones, meaning ones she didn't like, which are in a lot of beauty products. But again, I don't want to be eating silicone. Oh, and polyethylene, absolutely not. Plastics made from oil, which is what we put in our cars. I'm not eating that, so I definitely would not buy this. So, you know, these big, scary terms that sometimes live on the back of beauty packages, they're alarming to consumers, and they think about them this way, that I wouldn't eat this, so I'm certainly not going to put this on my skin. And so as you're thinking about your brand and your channel, how can you highlight that these ingredients aren't there today for her? Because that's truly what she's looking for. And so I talked about, you know, that there are attributes that are selling today, and there are attributes that we should watch for the future, particularly when it comes to BetterforYou Beauty. And so to orient you to this slide, and I would call this kind of your trend alert slide, on the left-hand side are natural attributes that are selling today. So those are the percentage of consumers that report buying products with all natural, free of chemicals, sustainable, etc. On the right side are natural attributes that we see poised for growth. And we see them poised for growth because consumers report that they aren't buying them, but want to buy them. And so what you see is that where consumers are purchasing are products that are claiming all natural, free from chemicals, sustainable, some organic. So you see kind of 30 to 50% of BetterforYou Beauty consumers are buying those today. But on the right side, you see where there's higher interest growing. And areas like sustainable, organic, plant-based, and contains CBD are really high. In fact, 40% of consumers say they want to buy beauty products with CBD in them. And I think some of the right side is contingent upon how developed the market is today. We see a lot of these areas growing with manufacturers coming in, but perhaps not in the most massive channels. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity in the right-hand side of the slide to think about, where does your brand or retailer channel fit, and how can you serve consumers who want these products? I also want to call out that at Linkage, we've done a fair amount of research on the CBD category as well. And what we see is that there's a very high overlap between the consumer who wants to buy Better For You beauty products and the consumer who is interested in CBD ingredient overall. So I think this is a really an area of opportunity to watch, and that will be trending and growing, call it over the next year or two. I want to pause and kind of talk about sustainability a little bit more. When we talk to consumers, they really saw natural and sustainability going hand in hand. And what was really interesting to me when we talked to some consumers is that they want to be sustainable and they want to do what's right for the environment. They want retailers and manufacturers to make it easy for them. And so here's a great quote from a Gen Z shopper. She said, "Clean beauty and sustainable beauty are related. My New Year's resolution was to be less wasteful, and I like that Love Beauty and Planet bottles are recycled and made from recycled containers because it's sustainable and I don't have to do a lot." So I think as you're thinking about your sustainability strategy and what you want to carry, or if you're a manufacturer, what you want to bring to bear to market, I think it's important to note that consumers, especially in the beauty category, if they're looking for clean, they extend that to sustainable, right? I'm going to be clean and healthy to my body, but I also want to be clean and healthy to the environment. And so those two things go to hand in hand as you think about your sustainability strategy. But I also think it's important is how can you make being sustainable easy for the consumer? Because it's something that I think consumers feel they need to do. And if you can help them be sustainable with less effort, I think they're going to be likely to choose you. So now that we understand her path to purchase, let's take a look at where she shops and how she rates the individual channels for Better For You Beauty. So this slide provides some insight into where consumers are shopping for Better For You beauty products. And the first thing that I want to call out here is that if you survey consumers on overall beauty, go-to channels for beauty are mass and drug. 65% of consumers say they shop mass merchandise for beauty. 38% say they shop drug for beauty. But what we see here in this data along the gray chart is that when it comes to natural beauty, she's leaving these kind of core channels to go find what she needs. And then as you kind of look at the ratings here, you start to understand why. And what you see here overall is that in mass merchandise, drug, and traditional grocery, consumers rate these channels pretty high for natural beauty on convenience, good prices, and good prices. And that's what those channels truly are known for. But those channels lack and fall short for her on a wide selection of beauty products, ease of findability, and information. Whereas if you look on the right at beauty specialty, as you would expect, convenience and pricing are lower for this consumer, but selection, findability, and information are better. And so as I mentioned at the start, what we see here is that per the consumer, no one channel has got this Better For You beauty right for her. And certainly as we talk to consumers, we heard that some channels are making strides, but there are areas of opportunity in each of these channels to improve on how you can deliver on her needs. And so speaking of channels making strides, one that consumers highlighted for us was Target. This is a Gen Z shopper's quote, and she told us, I was pretty satisfied at Target. I like knowing it's there with more choices, so I don't always have to go spend an arm and a leg at Sephora. More personal care products like body wash, shampoo, and hand wash are there. And I would describe Target as a natural beauty product place because there's more there than any other mass store. And so I'll show you some pictures in a bit of how Target has changed their set and some of the actions that they're taking to attract the natural beauty shopper. They were definitely highlighted as a channel for us that has made some strides in capturing her. And so with that, I want to talk about some recommended activations based upon the data that we shared here today and what we've heard from the consumer on what you can do if you're interested in capturing this shopper. And I talked about this first, right? You should be investing in understanding and promoting to this shopper today because she represents a growing segment with a high lifetime value. And here's a quote from a millennial shopper. She said, "I've always been into clean beauty because my mom is into it. She's always used natural deodorant, shampoos. I've always been aware of the health perspective. And as I got older and started to read about it, people said what you put on your skin is getting ingested into your body." And so there's entire 2 generations of consumers and shoppers that are coming up right now, Gen Z and millennials, who have started to be trained this way and to think this way about beauty. And so I think this talks to the opportunity and the changes that we will likely see come sweep through the beauty category, very similar to what happened to food. The second activation I would recommend, if I was for any beauty manufacturer or retailer, is to help her navigate what can be a very complex and unregulated category by giving her overt and credible information about the products that you make or carry. She's certainly yearning for some credible information. I talked about the amount of research that she has to do and how difficult that can be to understand if something does or doesn't have an ingredient in it, or is it efficacious, does it work? And so let's talk about the good, bad, and the ugly here. And don't shoot me, the messenger, because consumers share these examples with us of what they thought was confusing in the store and what brought them clarity. And so on the left side, in terms of what confuses consumers, here's an example in a drugstore. We've got a natural beauty sign sitting on top of nail polish, which is anything but natural. That's confusing to her. It doesn't guide her to the right place and it doesn't give the right message. Another example here is herbal essences. And I think this package is a little dated, but it talks BioRenew. And it's got some, beautiful flowers, but it doesn't say what ingredients it has or what it's not carrying. So the consumer sent this to us saying, I don't know, is this natural or not? Do I believe it? And then on the right side, we have what consumers see as best in class clarity. One of these is the clean icon at Sephora. Sephora has put online and in some of their stores, and not totally covering every item, but online they've covered most items that they consider clean. And so shoppers can go online and they can look for clean items that Sephora deems clean. And on the bottom, Target has done the same thing in their store. And I think there's opportunity to make this larger and make it stand out more to her and bring more together. But she's found that items like these on products that she can trust and knows that are clean are really helping her to shop and find what she needs. Third recommended activation is to capture her out of the store with credible reviews and product information when she's searching for it. So that might look like obtaining certifications for your brand if you offer one. The Environmental Working Group offers a certification for clean beauty products. And we have a lot of consumers talk to us about how they look on that website to see if the products that they're picking for their skin or for their hair are safe and non-toxic. Google is certainly another place to turn to because she's getting information from there. And so as you think about your search engine strategy, how can you capture her and what terms is she searching and how can you get to her through Google? And then finally, your website might be another place to do this. We see, online search options like at Ulta that help her navigate products by filtering out items in them. And so you can see there, the Ulta site helps her filter out ingredients and choose products that are paraben-free or sulfate-free. These are all great ways to help her get the information she needs easily and to help her shop this segment for your brand or in your store. And the next recommended activation is to provide her, to really get it right in the store. You know, she needs a relatively large assortment, and she wants a natural selection to shop. And so, you know, here we show 2 store sets that she told us were best in class. The top one there is Sephora with a clear call out to clean skincare. And the bottom one being Target with their more recent natural set. 60% of Better For You shoppers told us they want to see all natural beauty products merchandised together. So bringing hair care, skin, cosmetics together. And their feedback is that they like these types of sets that bring everything together. They really like to see it all together. So something to consider as you look at your set is, how do you really get her, if she cares about natural and she's committed, how do you bring her into one place and help her to follow that path to purchase from segment to segment? And then finally, last recommended activation is, you know, I would suggest really kind of monitoring and keeping up with the latest Better For You beauty trends. It's going to be important to stay on top of what's trending, and think about and follow organic, plant-based, and especially CBD in this segment. I think there is a large group of consumers that are looking for these ingredients and these claims, and they may not be in the store that they're shopping today. And so as you evaluate your shopper and consumer, it's important to understand, does she want these, and how do you be the first one to offer them to her? So with that, I want to turn it back over to Mark, and we'll be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Carrie. We do have quite a few questions, and we'll go ahead and get to those now. Carrie, Janelle is asking, if there are more product searches on Amazon than Google, is Amazon also a go-to source for research? That's the current assumption in general beauty right now.
Yes, absolutely. I don't have those stats off the top of my head, but certainly Amazon is definitely a place she told us that she is looking for beauty information at. And we certainly know from other categories that is definitely a place that she would be looking for information, period, about products. So yes, Amazon's a great place to have a strategy and carry products and make sure you've got the right terms in there to capture her.
Krista is asking, I noticed during your presentation that cosmetics aren't as developed in natural as skin and hair care. Can you address why you think this is, and if you think the cosmetics segment will evolve?
I do, Krista. I think that's a great question. I think some of the cosmetics segment comes down to what manufacturers can produce. And at least from what I've seen is that brands don't offer as widely natural products in cosmetics, primarily due to the trade-off between, you know, I got to match the right color, I've got to get the right FSC, whether that's my foundation or lipstick, and offering natural ingredients. And so we are starting to see more natural cosmetics come to play. I think Milk Makeup's a good example of one. So there's certainly consumer demand for it, but I think it's going to take more R&D investment from companies to push this segment further towards natural. I think the demand is there from consumers if the products work.
Janelle is asking another question. You are using clean and natural interchangeably. Is that how consumers view these terms?
Yeah, I do. I think they do use them interchangeably. I think it really comes down to, I don't want a product, or I don't want an ingredient in my product that is harmful for me. And so they really see clean and natural as synonymous. And that means that they don't carry synthetic chemicals that could potentially harm their health.
Kyle is asking, do you think this can be a growing segment in men's beauty?
I do. You know, I think if I'm going back on my stats, I think about 40% of the beauty shoppers we surveyed were men. And I think they are just as likely to report that they were buying more natural beauty products. 30% of the men that we surveyed said they were buying more than the last year. And so I think as awareness and influence continues to grow, I would expect this trend to expand into men's beauty and grooming as well. I kind of take it back to, probably 5, 10 years ago. There wasn't such a focus on men's beauty and grooming. You certainly didn't have the sets and masks that you do today, targeting men. And so I think over time, as this trend evolves, as girlfriends and wives and kids influence their husbands and dads and boyfriends, I think you're going to see this segment grow for men as well.
That's great. Janelle is back with one more question. Clean is often thought as biocompatible synthetics that are still good for you. How does this concept fit into what they're looking for?
I don't know a ton on that space, to be honest with you. I think as long as the synthetics are considered healthy and not harmful to the body, consumers would probably be okay with it. But I think the question I have in my mind right there, because I'm struggling a little bit with the terms even myself,
Sure.
is if they can't say them and they don't understand them, I think consumers probably are going to struggle with seeing those ingredients as clean or natural.
Hey, we had another question just pop in from Bradley. Skincare is a very broad term. Was this information more on face skincare, or was acne also included?
This was just on face skincare.
Okay, great. We have time for one more question. Mandy is asking, based on consumer perspectives, which retailer do you think is going better for you beauty the best?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think as I hearken back what we saw in our data, that there really wasn't one retailer who was hitting it right on all factors. While mass, drug, and grocery are pretty well rated right on convenience and price, they're lacking assortment. But I'd say probably the exception there is Target. As we go back and think about some of those images we saw, Target's implemented a wider assortment of natural. They've used shelf tags to call out where they have clean beauty items. So consumers are starting to notice that. I think if we're talking in terms of specialty, Sephora, per what we heard from consumers, is doing a little bit better than Ulta on natural. And again, that just comes down to their clean tags, both online and in the store, and calling out which items are clean and helping the consumer, the shopper, really be proactive in that. So I think there's really opportunity for all retailers to think about what factors are important to this consumer or shopper and consider how can they use their specific channel to improve on those.
That's great. That's about all the time we have. Carrie, thank you so much for being on the call today. We appreciate your support of our education and research aspect of who we are inside GMDC, and we appreciate the unique insights from Linkage as well.
Great. Thanks for having me today, Mark. It was a pleasure talking to you and sharing these with anyone.
That's great. If this is your first time experiencing a GMDC Infocast, I'd like to make sure you're aware that this session and all previous Infocast events can be viewed on the archive tab on gmdcconnect.org, along with a schedule to watch future Infocasts. I'd encourage you to get involved with GMDC Retail tomorrow and become a member if you're not already. Today's Infocast is a small sample of what members have access to. GMDC is a nonprofit, retail-owned association that helps connect people and companies to growth and opportunities in general merchandise, health, beauty, wellness, and self-care industries. For more information, please contact me at markm@gmdc.org. And I'd love to help you find opportunities to get your company exposed to high-profile executives and decision makers. Thanks for joining us today. We hope the rest of your week and weekend is as productive as this hour has been. Thank you and take care.